Let's change the world.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Santita Jackson Show. Get a little bit of feedback, but it's a joy to be with you today. I am coming to you from WCPT 820, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station, and AM 950 radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. And I want you to meet my morning stars on the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. Let's talk about what's happening in academia today. We're going to have Julian Malveaux to talk about the resignation of the UPenn president, Liz McGill. And we're also going to have a student from UPenn who is going to be coming to us with an assumed name, such as the nature of protest. Now, people are getting canceled, doxxed. But this young woman wants to share with us the atmosphere on the campus and how people feel about that. Now they're going after Claudine Gay, the president of Harvard. Apparently, what these three presidents said at the congressional hearing last week was not enough. And we didn't hear anything about Palestinian rights as we're looking at anti-Semitism. All forms of hatred are bad. But what about free speech? At some point, you have to give people the space to say what it is that they want to say, what they need to say, and that's when you know how to combat it. But I think Ms. McGill was right that when you cross the line, when it becomes conduct, that becomes the problem. And too often, these horrible ways of thinking become conduct. But there's something going on here, and it's chilling the discussion because who's running the universities, donors or the university? Because really what it's come down to, the boards of trustees of these schools are up in arms because people who are giving these donations in the tens and hundreds of millions of dollars are saying, I'm going to pull my money back unless you have your students behave a particular way. What do you think about that? Call me at 773-763-9278. And then let's talk about this Texas Supreme Court case in which Kate Cox, a mother who is pregnant and the pregnancy continues to go. Well, it turns out the child, she has been told by doctors, will not survive. And not only this, if she carries the pregnancy forward, it increases every day. Her chance of becoming infertile increase. So she was given the Faustian bargain, if you will. It's just a horrible choice. I can't even imagine. And so as this child is growing inside of her, she's saying in order to save the child, the doctors say there's no chance for this child to survive, and the child is suffering in utero, I must terminate the pregnancy. And there's supposed to be exceptions in Texas, and yet the Supreme Court said, no, you need to carry this baby to term. Wow. What, and increase her route to infertility? Are you serious? Whatever you feel, my personal feelings about abortion, I don't put into the public space. That's between you and the Lord. What is going on with people? Call me at 773-763-9278. 773-763-WCPT. I want to hear from you. I want you to tell me what your thoughts are. What are your thoughts about this case? Let's get to some of the headlines. Fighting in the Gaza Strip has pushed its healthcare system near collapse. Indeed, some reports say that there are more than 17,000 Gazans who have been killed. Healthcare in Gaza is, well, they say it's on its knees. And the World Health Organization has said that. And growing disease, if the bombs don't kill them, the disease will kill people. They do not have access to showers, to toilets. There's running sewage in the streets, 180,000 plus people in addition to those who are already in southern Gaza have been moved in. It is the largest open-air prison in the world. The Biden administration has called for Israel to protect civilians, but they vetoed the UN resolution demanding a ceasefire. And guess what? The Biden administration snuck in behind Congress's back last week more munitions to Israel. Snuck it in. You cannot make this up. Penn's president, Liz McGill, resigned over congressional testimony on anti-Semitism, or was it free speech? She was criticized after she declined to state plainly that a call for genocide against Jews would violate the University of Pennsylvania's Code of Conduct. Saturday's resignation has reinvigorated the debate about free speech, and we will talk about that very, very shortly. At least 6 people were killed after tornadoes ripped through Tennessee. God bless them, everybody. The tornadoes touched down around Nashville on Saturday. Dozens were injured and thousands were left without power. The same weather system caused a significant storm on yesterday on the East Coast. We learned more about the man accused of the classified files on Discord. Jack Texiera, a 21-year-old Massachusetts Air National Guard member, was charged after allegedly sharing hundreds of documents on the popular online oral forum. And what about the young woman who tried to burn down Dr. King's birthplace? She's a Navy veteran. Reverend Raphael Warnock, the senator from the great state of Tennessee, from the great state of Georgia, said we are praying for her. But many people who were visiting Dr. King's birthplace on Sweet Auburn Avenue, the home in which he was raised, actually pursued her as she tried to burn the house down. They ran her down and held her until police came and overtook her. And those are just some of the headlines on the Santita Jackson Show. Oh, but Bobby, before I get back to you, Pastor Bobby, the FDA approved 2 gene therapies that target sickle cell disease. This genetic illness afflicts Black Americans, people from the Mediterranean, and this genetic illness can cause excruciating pain and cut decades off of people's lives. Although the treatments have increased the lifespans of people, it is fatal. And one of the therapies is the first commercially available treatment in the U.S. based on gene editing technology. Good on them. Good on them. And and make sure that you get these genetic screenings, everybody, when you are preparing to get married or when you're preparing to have a baby, because 2 people with sickle cell trait, which I do have, more than likely will have at least one offspring who has the disease, and it is very painful. I've had several friends who have died from it, and that's not what you want. But Pastor Bobby, how are you doing? Pastor Robert Burton Lewis, the Joy Life Center at 9401 South Oakley. Look, I'm going to get it one of these days now. You get it.
You got it. Good morning. Happy Monday. How are you?
I've never called you Robert Burton in all these 50 odd years, but I'm rolling with it.
I know.
I'm rolling with it.
Ain't nothing wrong with it.
No, honey, I'm seeing you in your little teeny weeny afro back in the day.
All of us had one. We were trying to be the Jackson 5, all 5 of us, right?
Look, were we not? And your brother and his brother Kevin, brilliant. It turns out advertising exec and music executive. And Kevin has passed on. Boy, I have some wonderful memories of Kevin. Kevin had a band, and it was a great band. And for my birthday one year, they came and they were going to be the house band for my birthday party. And Kevin marched upstairs to our mothers. They're not listening to our music. We were trying to put the Jackson 5 records on, Bobby. We looked at him, and our mothers came downstairs. You must listen to them, and you dance to their music. They're such talented. Oh, girl, we were hot with them, but that's all right. We were hot with them.
Kevin was always passionate. He was always passionate about his music. Passionate about his music.
And and he's one of the pioneers of reality TV. Many people don't know that. Indeed, he is the pioneer of reality television. This was something more than about 40 years ago when he was working for Burrell. In fact, this was part of his test package for Burrell. He came up with the idea of reality TV, reality commercials, bringing real people into the space. So he's quite the pioneer, and he will always live on, right?
That and he was the first ad exec to bring hip hop in the commercials too. He brought Run DMC.
That's right.
Run DMC into hip hop. I mean, into commercials. Yeah, mainstream commercials.
Absolutely. Kevin Lewis, Kevin with a Y.
Right.
Oh boy, have some great times. But Pastor Lewis, at 12 o'clock on Sundays, people can come to 94th and Oakley to the Joy Life Center. So after you've been out all night long on Friday, you can go worship
That's right.
with this great congregation. And some of the urban nights will be there, so the music is top notch. You don't want to miss that. But you know what? I need some good
Oh,
news today. A lot of people, this is a tough season for a lot of people. It's a joyous season, but it's a tough
yeah,
season. But you always have
it
something
is.
really positive to say.
Well, I'm reminding everybody today, Santita, that we walk this far by faith.
Mm,
I want you to know that faith isn't
mm,
passive, and
mm.
what we have to do is it is active, it's vibrant, and it's powerful. This past Sunday was the second Sunday of Advent, and it was all about our rededication to faith. Faith is about breaking free from the chains of societal norms, stepping out from the crowd, and boldly asking for what we need and desire. First, we're called to break free. This means liberating ourselves from the limitations and expectations placed on us by society, our past experience, and even our own self-doubt. And Tita, sometimes that gets in the way of our faith. It's about shedding the layers of conformity and embracing the unique path that God has set for each and every one of us. Secondly, we're charged to step out. This is about moving beyond our comfort zones, stepping away from the crowd and the pressures of conformity. It's about walking in faith, trusting in the path that God has laid out for us, even when it's not visible for those around us to see. Because sometimes that God has just given something for us to see, and everyone around us can't see it. And so we can't depend on them. We've got to move with what God has given us and charged us to do. And lastly, we are urged to ask boldly. This is about approaching God with confidence and faith, asking for our heart's desire, for guidance, for strength, and for the fulfillment of God's promises on our lives. It's about believing in the power of prayer and the assurance that God hears and responds to our calls. Listen, today, let this message sink deeply into our hearts. Whatever you're facing, know that you have the strength to break free from that chain, to step out in faith, and to ask boldly for what you need. Your faith has the power to transform your life and the world around you. So today, I'm just asking you to just hold on to these three things: break free, step out, and ask boldly. Let this be your guide, your inspiration, your call to action. May your faith be as vibrant and as active as it is powerful and transformative. Today, I just want to say, may your day be blessed with courage, hope, and unwavering faith that will move you into your next blessing.
I needed that
I
today.
tell you, Santita.
I needed that. No, I really did. I needed that today. I did.
Oh,
More than I can say.
yeah.
Hmm.
God gives us all what we need right at the right time. So I am just so happy that I could pour into you, because Lord knows you've poured into me.
Well, that's what big sisters are for. Now, there you have it.
Yes, they are.
That's right.
Yes, they are.
It's taken him 50 years,
I
everybody, but he finally listens to me. Taking a
You gotta
long
have
time.
faith, Sandy. You gotta have
Yeah.
faith.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, you sound just like Dawn. You sound just like Dawn.
I should. I've been looking at y'all like a long time. Like, okay. But is there, do you have just, how can we worship with you on Sunday and throughout the week?
Hey, consider this a formal or informal invitation, however you want to jot it down. But I'm inviting everyone to come out and join us on Sunday mornings, 9401 South Oakley. Sunday afternoon, actually, it's 12 noon. 9401 South Oakley in the Beverly area in Chicago. And that's right. Santita said earlier, it doesn't matter what you did the night before. There's more than enough time for you to get whatever sleep that you need and come on and worship with us. It's going to be a wonderful time each and every Sunday. And then also during the week, you can connect with us online. Tuesday, we have a Bible study at 12 noon on Facebook and YouTube. Also, we have a Wednesday night Bible study, and you can join that on Zoom, but you have to email us for the Zoom link. So that the email is joylifembr@gmail.com, and we'll send a link right out to you so you can join us on Wednesday nights at 7 o'clock for Bible study. And then also on Thursday, we have a prayer session, a prayer service on Thursdays at noon as well, and that is on Facebook and YouTube. So there's plenty of places where you can come and connect to Joy Life Center. We'd love to see you virtually, and we'd love to see you in person. Come out and connect with us. 9401 South Oakley in Chicago, in the Beverly area, on Sundays at noon.
All right, all right, all right. I love it. I love it. I love it. Pastor Robert Burton Lewis, Joy Life Center, 94th and Oakley. Hey, get on over there, everybody. I love the fact that it's at 12 o'clock on Sunday. So, you can get up and go. I mean, it's making an adjustment to how people actually live. Absolutely. We've got Dr. Shanita Knighton with us today, Pastor Lewis, and she's going to be she's going to be coming back as we talk about this Texas issue. But what's on your mind today in this holy season in which we all need so much information on infection prevention?
Yes, Santita, so good morning. Well, for one, just reminding people that we definitely want to make sure that in the season of fellowship, in the season of love, making sure that we honestly stay free from the germs of others, as they can be sickly. We have, again, as I mentioned before, multiple viruses amongst us because it is that type of season. And as a result of it being that season, it's a reminder that, yes, while we want to be more indoors, places with poor ventilation, places where it's going to be crowded and there's no fresh air circulating in the room, increases the risk of others becoming ill. It does, unfortunately, just take a cough or a sneeze in order for someone to be at risk for getting ill. I oftentimes run into people and they say, oh, well, I don't understand. I was extra careful while I was traveling, and I'm not sure where and why I got sick. Well, I'll tell you, just really quick, even me being at the airport, okay, I saw, for one, the worker had on gloves. And as you can imagine, I'll continue to remind our audience for education purposes that gloves are not your hands. And in fact, they do not provide a protective barrier like your hands do against germs. So what will occur as a result of that is you'll end up having an accumulation of dirt and germs that build up on the gloves that then, if you touch your face or touch your belongings, you're now transferring that bioburden or / buildup of germs directly to your face or to your belongings. And so as a result of that, they were touching cars, touching everything, and she literally grabbed a napkin and blew her nose and stuck it right back in her pocket and proceeded to, again, touch cards. So I'll remind people, it's not necessarily all the time about what it is that you're doing. It's also being aware of what others are doing that is around you. It's being aware, what are they touching before they interact with you? Are they touching their nose? Did they, people unfortunately are still licking the grocery store bags just to get you a bag. So it's just being aware of what's happening around you to know that all it takes is just that one time of coming in contact with someone's sneeze droplets, someone cough droplets, someone being unwell and being in contact with you, and that being, unfortunately, the impetus to get you sick. We, unfortunately, are starting to get back to a place where we're normalizing being ill again. But as I'll continue to emphasize, we should normalize not being ill. I spoke to many people during the prime of COVID who said, this is the least sick that I've been. Now, again, there have been people that have been sick, so it's not minimizing them. But people that made sure that they stuck with their infection prevention and control practices said that they went a significant duration of time without being ill because they were practicing things in addition to, let's say, other measures that were in place. So before we had vaccines, we still had hand hygiene. We still were screening people for coming into our homes. We still were masking, and we were still making sure that we were vigilant about where we were and if we were doing something to increase our risk.
Everybody get back on it. Get back on it. Let's normalize wellness, not sickness. Call us at 773-763-9278. Many people are saying that what happened at UPenn was a horrifying decision, a horrifying precedent. The UPenn president resigned. We're going to have Dr. Shanita Knighton back as we talk about what's happening in Texas. Kate Cox is risking infertility and maybe even her own life because the Texas State Supreme Court will not allow her to terminate a pregnancy of her child who is gravely ill. This child has a fatal illness, and the longer she carries the pregnancy, the less likely she is to be able to carry another pregnancy. It's just horrific. Back with more of the Santita Jackson Show in just a minute.
This is
Dr. Knighton, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
Well, I had to have a little procedure on my eye on Friday, but I'm much better now. But it's still, my vision is not what it needs to be. So it's going to take a few weeks, they said, for it to come back. You know what? I came across a story that Black women are more likely to experience infertility. I've become an audiophile, even as a singer. Because I really am not able to read right now, which is like driving me crazy. You know that.
Yeah, I'm curious, Santita. So what did it say? What was the
I'll call you.
The reason? Like,
I'll call you.
Okay.
I'll be on a lot of screen time.
And listen. Gotcha. Okay, yeah, that'll do it. That's screen time.
Screen time, and my contacts, I've worn them a little long. I can't wear them 12 hours or even 8. But I'm on this screen anywhere from 12 to 20 hours a day. And because it takes that kind of research, for the show. So I have to do what I have to do. So
which is understandable. That article that you came across, what did it say about being the reason why
sending Dr. Malvo and Valerie through?
Black women were at higher risk of infertility?
I'm going to send it to you. I'm going to send it to you because I think you need to look at. Because there are a lot of hyperlinks to studies, which that's your bailiwick, and I wasn't really able to. And everybody, my eyes are closed because I have a light in my eye. And I'm extremely sensitive to light. I don't want to put my shades on with you all this morning, but I might have to do that because the light is just too bright, and I've got damage to my cornea. We're trying to, and I just need, the more I rest my eyes, the better off I am. But that having been said, fibroids for Black women, I think honestly the stress. There's so much stress.
I agree. I was just going to say, I think it comes down to social determinants of health.
Absolutely.
So, like, when you're talking about income, when you're talking about,
we can't get treated for infertility. That's a real issue for Black women. And when I think of Black women, I wonder what's happening with indigenous women, because their health outcomes are far worse than ours. I can't help but think that. But hold on one second. I've got Dr. Malvo.
I'm here. Good morning.
And I have got a UPenn med student, Valerie, who is functioning under a pseudonym today. And Valerie, Valerie's from If Not Now, that tremendous
60
movie.
seconds.
I just love you all to pieces. How you doing, Valerie?
I'm doing great this morning. How are you guys doing?
Oh, it's wonderful. Now, is that the way that I should introduce you, Valerie?
Yeah, that's a perfect way to introduce me. Thank you very much.
Because, the space, but Dr. Julianne Malvo, MIT PhD she's an economist. She's the president emeritus of Bennett College for Women, which was one of the seminal colleges. Well, it's one of our leading Black colleges, and they were also central to the civil rights movement, having sent so many students to and through it. But she's their president emeritus, and she's the recently retired Dean of Ethnic Studies from Cal State LA. She is a Californian.
10 seconds, everybody.
Out there, although she's in DC right now. And so just stay right there. I'm so glad to have you both with us today. Stand by.
We can change the world, change the world, change the world. We can change the world, we can change the world, change the world.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
War and hate to a place of love, it's not too late. Gotta save the children, we can't wait. Let's change the world. I am dreaming.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show. Happy Hanukkah to our Jewish brothers and sisters. Can you believe we're in the midst of this beautiful, beautiful holy season with so much going on in the world? Happy Hanukkah to our Jewish brothers and sisters. Hanukkah, the festival of lights, everybody. And our Muslim brothers and sisters having come through the season of Eid. And of course, we are in Advent in the Christian calendar, two of our highest holy days, Christmas and Easter. And this is the season, Advent. Sending everyone so much love, whether you are in or out of faith. We are all one family, everybody. I love you so much today. I'm Santita Jackson, coming to you from WCPT 820, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station, and AM 950 radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. And we've got a story that I think we need to visit. Well, of course, we'll revisit it over and over and over again. This is probably the headline for me that is most apt. I saw it on the cover of Common Dreams, a horrifying precedent. UPenn president, one of the Ivies, Liz McGill, resigned amid right-wing campus speech uproar. One critic said she was coerced into resigning for defending her students' right to political free speech. Professors at UPenn were joined by rights advocates in condemning the attacks that forced the university president, Liz McGill, to resign days after she testified before the U.S. Congress. Now, mind you, one of the donors, a $100 million donor to the university, said, I'm not going to give you any money. I'm done. So that helped to push this decision. And a donor redirected $50 million away from UPenn to the University of Chicago. They said, we're done with you, which means that the university president had to go. But what did she say? And what kind of signal does this send about free speech and what students are allowed to say? Not just do, but say. And when I was in college, certainly our president had views that were different politically from us. Valerie, who is a UPenn medical student, and she's operating under a pseudonym because such is the nature of protest today. She could get canceled. We don't know if she'd be able to get a match in medical school or, these people are really going after folks and shutting down their career opportunities. And of course, the president emeritus of Bennett College for Women, Dr. Julianne Malvo, brilliant economist. Dr. Malvo, before we go to Valerie, who's at UPenn, and she can tell us about what's happening on that campus, they said it's a horrifying precedent. What happened here? Because your job, you as a university president, and even as the dean at one of the leading universities like you got to raise money. So what happened here?
Well, a college president has three roles, but the one that is most emphasized, unfortunately, is fundraising. It's fundraising, leadership, and planning. Those are the three things that you're judged on as a president. I think that Liz McGill her congressional testimony was very awkward. I think she should have let out by saying we condemn the attacks, the Hamas attack on Israel.
Mhm.
I think that that's the statement that everybody has to make because we all do. And I wish he had wallowed into the context waters so much because then it sounds like she's equivocating, which she really wasn't. What she was doing was defending the free speech rights of her Palestinian students who also have the right to free speech. She began to get ire when she had a Palestinian writers conference on campus. She didn't do it. Presidents don't do that. Someone came to the provost and said, we want to do this, and the provost greenlit it. The provost tells the president, this is what we're going to do. So I'm sure the provost weighed all the pros and cons of this Palestinian Writers Conference. You know, what I know as a president, you can't go to every event on campus. You're not condoning every event on campus. You're simply saying, this is something, you know, we want to have. But we had a similar situation at Cal State LA where there was a conference and two young girls, Santita, they were 20 and 21, young Palestinians. We got splashback. Of course, our president at the time, Bill Covino, he told me, don't worry about it. There was splashback that they were anti-Semitic. No, they were Palestinian, and they were talking about their country. But I'm blessedly, you know, it didn't bubble to the surface. But as you know, leadership doesn't go to everything, and they can't. I think that she was coerced because of the money. I think the super powerful donor, $100 million on the line. I think that people looked around and said, can we afford to lose $100 million? But I would say that, yes, you can. If a university is about vision, leadership, and fundraising, the vision, what's the vision? Do we want free speech? You know, the word anti-Semitic is thrown around all too easily. If you're anti-Israel, not even anti-Israel, if you're critical of Israel, suddenly you're anti-Semitic. I've lost two close Jewish friends over this issue, and hey, go with God, y'all. But they were very close. They were people that we celebrated holidays with. I had Seder with them. But the fact that I said that Israel was killing people, they said that was anti-Semitic. Oh, well. But back to Ms. McGill, she was doing a great job, but I'll have to let Valerie, from the outside, she was doing a great job. I have to let Valerie speak to that from her own experience. But what I would say, let me tell you what, I would not have resigned. They would have had to fire me, and then I would have had to sue them. But I would not have been resigning over this. Now, again, as I say, I think she was clunky. I wish that she had expressed herself better with Congress. She knew that there was a hostile Congress, that of Virginia Fox from North Carolina, Republican from North Carolina, who heads the Education, Welfare, the Health Committee. She was awful. But she'd also said, I want them to atone. What were they to atone for? For giving students and others voice. So, again, I agree with the Common Dreams article. It is a horrifying precedent that makes college presidents less free to speak. I mean, there are major moral issues where we are often called upon to speak from the basically from the pivot of our presidency. And so to silence a president is to silence the entire student body who doesn't agree with others in the student body. You can't, I'll leave it there because I really do want to hear what Valerie has to say.
Valerie, what do you have to say? What is the reaction on campus, and how was former President McGill's, how were her comments received? Did you all feel defended? Were you offended? And of course, you are from If Not Now, this brilliant aggregation of young Jewish activists who, and what does If Not Now stand for before you get into all of this?
Yeah, I think the name If Not Now comes from sort of the saying of if not now, then when. It's sort of speaking to the fact that for the past 78 years, Palestinians have been oppressed and killed and consistently bombed, and their rights have been systematically denied, not only by Israel, but by everybody on the world stage, in particular led by the United States, who just vetoed the UN Security Resolution, which was supported by essentially the rest of the world, calling for a ceasefire in Gaza. I think Ms. McGill, unfortunately, in her 2 years of of tenure hadn't built up much goodwill among the people who are at the University of Pennsylvania, in contrast to Dr. Claudine Gay at Harvard, who, even though she only has 5 months as university president, she, I think it was just yesterday that 300 professors signed a statement in support of her, in support of her congressional testimony. And, I watched the whole 3-4 hours of that congressional testimony, and I think that Ms. McGill and Dr. Gay are actually saying a lot of the same things. And a lot of the negative backlash came from the line of questioning from Ms. Stefanik, a Republican out of New York, who had a coalition of people who ended up ceding their extra time to her so she could continue her very aggressive line of questioning on the public stage. And I think Ms. Stefanik's principal error in her argument is that she used the word intifada as calling for the killing of all Jews. So I went and I spoke with a Muslim Arabic-speaking friend of mine, and I was like, what does intifada actually mean? And she gave me this definition.
Okay, hold on, Valerie. We're not. We're losing you. We want to get you in a good place so that we can hear everything that you're saying. Okay.
Can you hear me now?
It's a little bit better. Let's get you.
Yeah, just one moment. Okay. I think I'm on the wrong Wi-Fi network here in my home. Is that better?
That is.
Amazing.
Yes.
Right.
So
you
asked your fellow classmate, your fellow UPenn student, what does intifada mean? So we can pick up from there.
To be clear, she's not a UPenn classmate. She's a classmate from previous education that I've had, but she's Muslim and she speaks Arabic, and she told me that intifada means resistance movement, and this is a resistance movement, especially in the context of resistance against oppression. It is not calling for the genocide of Jews. It is not even calling for the extinction of Israel. It is saying we are being oppressed and we need to resist, which is factually correct based off of the Palestinian experience of almost the last century. And so Ms. Stefanik had a line of questioning that she directed primarily at the UPenn and Harvard presidents, saying, if students are calling for the genocide of Jews, does that constitute harassment under your policies, and can that student be disciplined? And both of the university presidents said, well, we protect their right to free speech, and if such statements lead into action, then that action can be considered harassment and it can be disciplined. However, she's wrong in her fundamental argument that intifada is calling for a genocide of Jews.
So what was the reaction on campus? Did the people feel that her testimony was awkward? Did they feel that this was the death knell to her presidency? What happened?
I do feel that people felt that her testimony was quite awkward. When you looked at her and her answers, she kind of gave all of her answers in a little bit of this sheepish way of, I don't really want to be here and I don't really know what to say, in contrast to Dr. Claudine Gay, who gave all of her answers in a very confident way, and was very clear that Harvard in particular has no policies that infringe upon the free speech of students. Ms. McGill, she frequently deferred to saying that the UPenn's policies are based on the United States Constitution in protecting free speech in that way. And I think that, some people on campus feel that she could have defended those policies without sort of kowtowing to a higher power, the United States Constitution.
So what's the path forward? I mean, who runs the university? Is it the donors or is it the university? Who's in charge here?
I mean, I think for the other person's comments here, I think very much it's feeling like the donors run the university. On Saturday, I received an email saying that they have appointed an interim president. This interim president, I have not looked into her background. but she seems, it was stated that she is of Jewish heritage, and to me, that means that she's probably going to take more of like a Zionist stance on campus, and I think that makes a lot of Palestinian students on campus feel very scared about their right to education and also their right to assert the need for freedom for Palestinian people.
So how does that make you feel? I mean, given the fact that you are this a student, young Jewish activist, but you're fighting for justice for Palestinians, and you're fighting for protection for. I mean, you're fighting for justice and protection for everybody. How does it make you feel?
Right. It makes me personally feel quite scared. I was very active on campus back in 2020 in the wake of the murder of George Floyd, advocating on campus for different policies and changes to help protect Black and Brown students at the university med school in particular. And I saw during that time that people who advocate for justice are seen as troublemakers and are seen as potential and are targeted, not only directly targeted, but also indirectly targeted by not supporting them and by threatening them. I mean, at one point we had asked for compensation for the significant amount of time and effort that we were putting into making the university a safer place for Black and Brown students. And we were told, oh, but if we compensate you, then you guys will not be eligible for any prizes or awards upon graduation. I feel like that was a very subversive way of like deflecting the question.
So when you say that this makes you fearful, why does this make you fearful? What do you foresee?
I mean, I perceive that even though I'm Jewish, being slandered as an anti-Semite and having that put out about me in the public stage, which could impact my options for residency match, which is really the only way to continue forward in the medical education. And I feel as if I will no longer be able to stand up on campus for justice and stand up for what is right, for fear of my future career prospects, my public reputation.
Thus, the pseudonym today.
Yes, exactly.
Well, and I think it really does go to Dr. Malveaux. None of us are free until all of us are free. I mean, Valerie, would you not agree with that?
Santita, I'm almost speechless. I have such sympathy for Liz because, none of us are free until all of us are free, and all of us have the right to our voice. We cannot suppress voices because people are saying things that others disagree with. We've seen this happen to African American students and others. And I wonder, I go back to my undergrad days, class of 74 at Boston College, when I had a sign on my dormitory wall that said off the pig. Yeah. I mean, is that considered a threat? I mean, I had a big old, magic marker, big old letters, off the pig. So somebody could say that was a threat. I mean, the whole notion of threat, again, to use the word, it has to be contextualized. If a bunch of people are shouting off the pig or intifada, which means resistance, thank you, Valerie. I knew that and I just didn't raise it, so I'm very glad that you did. But if people are shouting intifada, is that considered? They're saying that's a threat. It's not a threat. It's a resistance. And so you can interpret stuff the way you want to interpret it. And a combination of Fox and Stefanik, the woman she was really rude and condescending to those presidents. And I applaud them all for maintaining their composure, although I do think that Claudine Gay did the best, of course. And I think Liz McGill did the worst. But her one of her supporters said she was over-lawyered, and you can see that in this litigious age.
I felt that she was lawyered up because she was so careful that she did not, because she didn't want the university to be sued. She didn't want students to be sued or put off campus, because this atmosphere to me is so poisonous that these students could lose their place at the university. They could get expelled for hate speech.
Exactly, and that's absurd. And then when we think about who students are, without talking down to them or anything, well, I used to tell my Bennett girls, I will not let your half brain make my whole brain go crazy. What do I mean by that? Folks under 25 do not have their frontal lobe fully developed. And I'm not talking down to folks, I'm just saying. And so, what do young people do? They protest. They resist authority. They're angry. They want it that way. And they want it that way now. That's why the grown-ups in the room, while agreeing with them sometimes, have to say, maybe we need to dial that back a little bit. But there's nothing to be dialed back in Palestinian resistance. With 15,000 people dead, at least 15,000 people dead. Peter Beinart, who is a former colleague when I was doing CNN, and I think he's editor of one of the Jewish magazines. Mm-hmm. He's talked about how this whole thing about college presidents deflects from what's happening in Gaza. That's the more important issue. And how all these people are being starved to death, how the IDF keeps sending people conflicting messages. Go north, go south, go north, go south. And in the middle of that, they go to the refugee camp only to have them bomb the refugee camp. So somebody has to say that, and that's not anti-Semitism.
No, it's not. I mean, not to mention the fact that the Biden administration did an end run around Congress and they sent more munitions to Israel. I mean,
it's ridiculous.
It's just a mess. But you've got Dr. Rowan Stevens, and I'm gonna Ross Stevens, excuse me, and I'm gonna give this to you, Valerie, before we go. From Stone Ridge Asset Management, he gave $100 million to Booth at the University of Chicago, their business school. Now he would not publicly discuss this $100 million that he gave, but he pushes back not only on just really, he's saying, I'm defending the Jewish community. He also has a problem with DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And to me, I mean, when it goes to Valerie, your point about being fearful, because these forces are way on the right, not in the correct, but on the right. They're against moving society forward. The last minute belongs to you, Valerie.
Yeah, I really want to echo the other commentators, and I also just want to put that into context. And so I recently saw a really great post that puts the numbers in Gaza in perspective as if it were the American population. And so I'll just share a very small part of that. So if you adjust for population, Israel's attack on Gaza would mean 2,404,168 Americans killed, which is equivalent to murdering every single person in Las Vegas, Boston, Detroit, Seattle, and Atlanta in just 55 days, and almost half of those are children. And so the scope of what we're seeing is really unprecedented, and I think in history it's going to go down as a second Holocaust.
Can you give us those numbers? Can you give us those numbers again before you go? Wow.
Absolutely. So if you adjust for population, Israel's attack on Gaza would mean 2,404,168 Americans killed, which is equivalent to murdering every single person in Las Vegas, Boston, Detroit, Seattle, and Atlanta in just 55 days. And almost half of those are children.
I'm speechless.
And I think that's, I'm speechless too. I don't even know how to follow up on that. That is,
you've got to send that to me, Valerie. You've got to send that to you. Yes, because it contextualizes everything.
And it's also important to know that Israel is perfectly capable of performing what they call surgical strikes. And so I've seen a photo of a building where just one apartment was blown out because they knew that one of the leaders of Hamas and his family lived there. And so the entire building is still standing. No one else in the building was harmed, but just this one apartment was completely blown out. So they are capable of performing specific strikes to target people, and they are choosing to carpet bomb and kill hundreds of thousands of people.
Valerie, you be well, and you get on out of that medical school, because I need doctors. I need a doctor. I need a physician.
Thank you very much.
And but take care of yourself. Take care of yourself and know
Thank
that
you.
know that you have a home here. Dr. Julianne Malvo, this is a whole lot. And like they said, it's a horrifying precedent. And what are you going to be talking about on your show today very quickly? And where can we find it?
I'm on WPFW FM, WPFWFM.org to listen live at 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. your time. I don't want to mess with your time, but don't tune in for the last little few minutes. We're going to talk about the economy. We have all these signals out there. Unemployment rate's low. Inflation is going down, but people aren't feeling it. People are simply not feeling it.
Mhm.
So, want to talk about that? 1-800-588-0893 if you want to call in, because I'm going to be asking my listeners, how is this economy doing for you? What we have, I think, is macroeconomic stability, but microeconomic angst. People are worried. People can't buy what they need to buy. Interest rates, even though they're coming down, they're still too high. If you were trying to buy a home a year ago or 2 years ago, your monthly payment is hundreds more than it was when you first started looking into it, which means you probably can afford less house, less condo. So we're going to be talking about that, Santita. And I want to thank Valerie.
I got 20 seconds. I got to hurry up and get out.
Love to bring her voice on. Important young voice. That's
Absolutely.
all.
No. That's a whole lot. And she has to use a pseudonym, everybody. That's where we are in America today. Let's talk about what's happening in Texas. This woman is being forced to carry a child to term. It could render her infertile. It might even kill her. And the child is supposed to die at birth, a horrific death. Back with more of the Santita Jackson Show in just a minute. Okay, Devin, I'm going to need you to give me at 57. Give me that music.
At 57? Okay.
Yeah. Just so because it can help everybody to get out.
Okay.
Okay, thank you so much. Julianne, bless your heart. Have a good one. I sent you that information, right? That $3.4 million figure.
She dropped,
Okay.
and so did Valerie. Dr. Knighton's still here, though.
Okay, Dr. Knighton, hey.
Good morning.
Oh, thank you for staying.
No problem.
Thank you.
No problem.
Okay. Trying to do a lot of things at once. Okay. I'm going to have you explain, oh boy.
You said explain the what?
Well, you just give me one hot second. Why carrying this child to term could be so dangerous for her? They're saying that she's looking at infertility herself. I think because, I think we take giving birth for granted, but it really is a very serious matter.
It is.
Okay. So, I'm sorry, hon. I am. Oh. Okay, you all. Looks like my eyes are shut. They're not shut. I'm just trying to protect them because I told you all I was not. That I, was really trying to figure out what was going on. Well, I mean, I was trying to get to the doctor on Friday. I did get there. It turns out they had to perform an emergency procedure. And then, found out that there was I sustained some injury to my corneas. And so I'm extremely sensitive to light, and having this light in my face at this ring light is very difficult for me. But if I did not do that, you would not be able to adequately see me here. So just please bear with me as I work all of this out, okay? I'm so glad that you all are here, but I hope that you all will call in at 773-763-9278, 773-763 WCPT. And let's talk about this issue. Let's talk about it, because I think this is something that it's an issue for our time, right? I was glad to see that they've come up with a new gene therapy for sickle cell disease. But you have to explain gene therapies to us too at some point. Okay. Dr. Knighton, you there?
I'm here.
Oh, okay. You go on mute. Okay, I got you.
Yes.
Gotcha.
You know, it's kid drop off around this time.
Huh?
I said I drop my children off around this time to school.
Okay, no worries.
So I'm muting.
Well, no. Thank you for being
You're
with
welcome.
us.
Absolutely.
Sending Denise Parker, Senator Coleman, Attorney O'Neill, Attorney Sinat, and Attorney Jones through.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, hey Denise, how you doing?
Good morning. How are you?
Good. I told you I was going to get you in.
I know.
I know you're like,
I'm ready.
I was hoping that she would forget me this morning. Not.
No, I wasn't.
Not.
It's a blessing, though.
Not. Well, what you're doing is a blessing. So let us try to bless you as you bless so many others.
Okay.
So everyone say hello to Miss Denise. I'm so glad that she's with us today. I'm going to abbreviate my headline so that we can have her on here.
Good morning, Denise.
Good morning.
Denise is an esthetician extraordinary. She does my hair. And you never know what people are dealing with. Denise Parker has a toy giveaway. And so I've talked to her. First of all, she said she had 7 children, which no one can believe when you see her at all. And she's a grandma, proudly. I was like, this is just, I can't believe it. You don't look like you look like you have little kids. Well, turns out that you never know what people are dealing with. She has a son who went on to be with God. And so he had started a toy drive just before he passed away. And she's picked up the reins for him. And so we
60 seconds, everyone.
We want to support this drive as much as we can, so that we can. And she said it's helped her to fight through her pain. And so we're just grateful to God for her testimony today. So now, who do I have with me?
Denise Parker, Senator Coleman, Attorney O'Neill, Attorney Sinat, and Attorney Daryl Jones.
I'm sending you all so much love. Hey, Senator, soon to be Congresswoman. We got to raise some money for y'all.
The senator now saying good morning.
Yeah, well, like I said, I'm going on with what I'm doing. How about that piece?
No, that's right. I would see that in the name
10
of Jesus.
seconds.
Yeah, it's like you need to go and receive that. Okay, so
We can change the world, change the world, change the world. We can change the world, we can change the world, change the world.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
War and hate to a place of love, it's not too late. Gotta save the children, we can't wait. Let's change the world.
hey everybody, welcome to the Santita Jackson Show. Santita Jackson Show. Call me at 773-763-9278, 773-763-WCPT, and let's talk about what's happening in Texas. Turns out Kate Cox got really sad news. Excited about her pregnancy, she found out that the child is gravely ill, is expected to die if not in utero at birth. The longer she carries her pregnancy, the greater her risk of being infertile. She wants to have a child. She wouldn't be able to have a child. The doctors say the likelihood decreases greatly if she carries this child to term. So she was advised by medical personnel to terminate the pregnancy, but they won't allow her to do it. So the Texas State Supreme Court, now they're supposed to allow exceptions. Now we're seeing just what they're not allowing, everybody. Let's get some of these headlines out the way. A war for oil fears grow as the U.S. holds military drills in Guyana amid a dispute with Venezuela. Brazilian President Luis Da Silva offered to help forge a diplomatic solution, said, if there's one thing we don't want here in South America, it's war. And certainly it is not our oil up underneath the feet of South American people, everybody. The Biden administration bypassed Congress to rush tank shells to Israel. Hours after the U.S. Ambassador Robert Wood on Friday acted alone to veto a UN security resolution demanding an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. The Biden administration again illustrated, according to this Common Dreams report, its growing isolation and continuing to back Israel's onslaught as it bypassed the U.S. Congress to send more weapons to the country's extreme right-wing government. The U.S. Defense Department posted a notice on Saturday saying the U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken had informed Congress that the government sale of 13,000 rounds of tank ammunition was moving forward, even though Congress had not completed an informal review of the transaction, everybody. Call us at 773-763-9278. Fighting in Gaza has pushed its healthcare system, according to the World Health Organization, to near collapse. According to some reports, at least 17,000 Palestinians have been killed thus far. Penn's president resigned over her congressional testimony on anti-Semitism. Liz McGill was criticized after she declined to state plainly that a call for genocide against Jews would violate the University of Pennsylvania's Code of Conduct. Indeed, people are saying that this was a horrifying precedent, that we're wondering now who controls the school, the donors or the university. At least 6 people were killed after tornadoes ripped through Tennessee, and we learned more about the men accused of leaking classified files on Discord. Jack Texiera, a 21-year-old Massachusetts Air National Guard member, was charged after allegedly sharing hundreds of documents on the popular online chat platform. A post investigation shows how he allegedly used his privileged access to obtain classified files, and he just shared them. Wow, everybody. And the FDA has approved 2 gene therapies that target sickle cell disease. Good on them. I want you to call me at 773-763-9278, 773-763-WCPT. Let's talk about this Texas case, everybody. In Chicago will have a high of 37 degrees, partly sunny. And in Minneapolis, St. Paul, the same, 37 degrees. In the NFL, the Vikings 3, the Raiders nothing. They were shut out. The Bears 28, the Lions 13. In the NBA, the Bulls will be playing the Bucks tonight, and the Timberwolves will be playing the Pelicans. In the NHL, the Capitals 4, Chicago 2, the Wild 3, the Kraken nothing. You know what? It is that time of year. Our brothers and sisters of the Jewish faith are in the midst of their Hanukkah festival of lights. Our brothers and sisters in the Islamic faith have been coming through the season of Eid, and we are in Advent in the Christian calendar as we move toward one of our 2 highest holidays, of course, Easter in the spring and in the winter, the birth of Christ, the Mass of Christ. And this can be a tough season for a lot of people. A lot of people, we see suicides go up. We see people who feel joyous, but we see people who feel a lot of pain. They think about their losses, and sometimes they make permanent decisions about a temporary feeling. And so I wanted to bring this woman back before us because she's doing something about the pain. She's not nursing the pain. She's nursing the power and the possibilities that came from her gift, her son, Gabriel, the angel. who had started a toy drive before he made his transition. And I want you to get out and support it, please, everybody. They're giving away not just toys, but clothing. They're giving away food at 8540 South Racine. And I wanted to bring this beautiful woman, this beautiful, beautiful woman of God, Denise Parker, with us. Gabriel's toy giveaway. It's on Sunday, is it not, Denise?
For the 17th.
Oh, it's on the 17th? So,
Yes.
very quickly, tell us about this toy giveaway. It started why?
Okay. It started, my son started in 2019. It was on Thanksgiving. We was about to eat, and he was asking, me and his siblings, like, I want to ask y'all something. And then we was like, okay. So he was like, okay, I want to start a toy drive. And I want to know, can y'all, like, donate toys to the toy drive? And we was like, okay. He was like, I'm starting it. And then I was like, okay. So he did it for, like, women and children, like women battering children. So he went up north and did it up there. So my son Gabriel, he died in 2020 of March. So he had a seizure in his sleep.
Mm.
And Gabriel, he was a good child, a good son and brother and uncle. And I called him my miracle baby because in 2000 I had a car accident, and I was 9 months pregnant. It was the day of my baby shower, and the engine came in on my stomach, so it smashed all the organs in my baby. So he didn't make it, and then I was in a coma, and then I had to learn how to walk and all that. And they told me that I couldn't have more kids. So I wound up getting pregnant again with my daughter Patricia. Like 4 months later, I wound up getting pregnant again with her, and I lost her in March.
Mm.
I lost her in March. So they was like, okay, Miss Parker, you have to give your body a rest and all that, and they was just like, I said, y'all told me I couldn't get pregnant no more, whatever. And then they was like, yeah. So I wound up getting pregnant again, and they couldn't believe it. I wound up getting pregnant with Gabriel. And I went in, and they was like, well, I don't know if he's gonna last through 9 months through a pregnancy because from the injury from the car accident or whatever. So they wound up sewing me so I can hold him. But anyway, I didn't. He comes at 6.5 months of my pregnancy. On my birthday. My birthday is the 17th of January, and he was born on the 19th. So anyway, the doctor was like coming in, like taking ultrasounds, like he's gonna weigh 1 pound, some ounces, he's gonna have, real problems or whatever and all that. So anyway, I had him. So he wound up coming out 4 pounds, 3 ounces. Nothing wrong with him. Lungs are strong, everything.
Now he was a miracle baby. And just,
so me and his big wind up just going in the Bible, picking our names, put 4 names in the Bible, and then we picked the name out and we picked out Gabriel. And that's how we got Gabriel birth. And that's why I called him my miracle and my angel.
And although he's made his transition, what you've decided to do is fight through your pain and have this toy drive. And I want people to be supportive because they can drop off food, they can drop off clothes, unworn clothes, everybody. unworn underwear and things like that at 8540 South Racine. Because on the 17th, they will be giving away what you need until they run out. 8540
Right.
South Racine. Is there a number that we can call, Denise?
Yes, y'all can call me at 312-888-5128.
And give us that number again.
312-888-5128.
I want to have you come back on to talk about how you decided to turn this pain into power. I mean, just really because no one would ever blame you for just for the pain that you obviously feel at losing a child, and for really having to nurse that. But you said, no, I want to do something else, and he is truly an angel. Everybody, December 17th, please, up until that date, go to 8540 South Racine, drop off whatever you can. If it's money, drop it off. It's going to bless somebody. If it's food, if it's clothing, it's for these children. And they give, if you walk in there and you need a coat for your child, you get that and some toys. If you need some food, they give you that too. So please, everybody, this is a worthwhile event. And I want you to call them at 312-888-5128. 312-888-5128. Denise Parker, everybody, sending you so much love. Talk to you in the morning, Denise.
Okay, see you in the morning.
In the morning.
Love
in the
you.
morning. Love you, girl. Love you, love you, love you. Wow.
Okay.
And we make that pivot here to I have a new sponsor, everybody. You know, I always love working with people who are really, really seeking to help others. And, you know, oftentimes it can be a lot of people want to do some good. And I think Credo Mobile is one of these people. They're one of these companies that wants to do that. They are coming on to WCPT as our newest sponsor. And we could not imagine being more aligned with a partner than with Credo Mobile. They're socially conscious. They're a socially conscious mobile phone company. And I want you to call them at 877-346-0516. 877-346-0516. Let me tell you, you might as well do business with someone who wants to do business for you. They've donated over $95 million to progressive nonprofits working for a better world. With Credo, you get great coverage, the latest phones and plans you get from the big guys. But with Credo Mobile, CREDO, your money supports what you support, what's better for all people and the planet. CredoMobile.com. 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 Call them at 877-346-0516. It is so important to support businesses that support you. It is so important to support businesses that support you, and Credo Mobile is just such a business. Call them at 877-346-0516. They have given $95 million to progressive nonprofits, and your business makes that possible. Everybody, Credo Mobile. And we're going to be talking about this case in Texas. You know, we have got Anastasia Sanat, brilliant attorney from the Haitian American Lawyers Association, chair of the Transformative Justice Coalition, attorney Daryl Jones. We've got Alabama State Senator. She is congressional candidate Marika Coleman from Alabama, and attorney Terry O'Neill, civil rights lawyer and former national president of the National Organization of Women. Terry O'Neill, can you give us an overview of this case?
Yeah, good morning, Santita. This case is really heartbreaking. This is a woman who has two children, got pregnant again, was thrilled. The pregnancy has gone terribly wrong. The fetus has a number of abnormalities, including a condition that means that there will not be a birth. If there just is not going to be a child who will be born and will be able to survive. In the meantime, the pregnant woman, her health is deteriorating. her first two children were delivered by cesarean section. And because this pregnancy has gone so disastrously wrong, if she waits to terminate the pregnancy, the longer she waits, the higher her risk that she will experience a ruptured uterus because of this pregnancy and not be able to have any children in the future. So Texas has a forced birth law that forces women into birth no matter what their condition, with exceptions, supposedly, to save the life or health of the pregnant person. She utilized this law. A judge in Texas issued a ruling that she could have the abortion, that her doctors and her healthcare providers could not be pursued by Texas under the forced birth law. And the Supreme Court has put that judge's ruling on hold while it considers whether they think that she is sick enough and damaged enough by a disastrous pregnancy to be able to terminate the condition. The Supreme Court apparently wants to bring her to the brink of death before allowing her to access the health care that she needs. This is a kind of Russian roulette with women's lives that has been played elsewhere. In Ireland, a very famous case a number of years ago of before Ireland changed its abortion laws. A woman was very, very ill from a disaster pregnancy, and the courts ruled that she was not close enough to death to be able to use one of the so-called exceptions to this law, and in fact, the woman did die. So my concern, to tell you the truth right now, is much less with what the courts are going to do. It's much more with how can this woman escape the state of Texas and get the health care she needs immediately, because these two children that she has need their mother, and her husband, needs his partner. So it's a real disaster, and Ken Paxton is leading the way. He's very proud of himself for forcing this woman to endure a total absence of the health care she needs. It's terrible.
Well, attorney, you are an attorney and a state senator and a congressional candidate. State Senator Marika Coleman out of Alabama. In a couple of minutes, what do you make of this case? I thought there were exceptions.
Yeah, so you're so very sad, number one, when you look at the human aspect of what Ms. Cox is personally going through. But it is also the prime example of why the federal government, why the U.S. Congress, and I'm going to be partisan right now, why we've got to keep the Senate and flip the House so we actually can deal with a piece of federal legislation that will protect women's access to abortion. So Texas, just like Alabama on the state level, don't have exceptions. In Alabama, our trigger law, because a lot of these Republicans have these, passed these pieces of legislation in the anticipation under the Trump administration that the Supreme Court was going to change or flip. I actually was the one in the state of Alabama who offered the amendment to have exceptions for rape and incest. And of course, most of those bills also included some type of exception if the mother's life was in danger. In our particular state, that amendment did not pass, just like in Texas and some of the other states when it came to rape and incest. One of those good old boys came to my desk and said to me that I would have supported your amendment had it just been for rape, but what am I to say about kissing cousins? And so that is the ignorance of the people who serve in many of these legislative bodies across the country. In Ms. Cox's case, as the attorney has already so eloquently explained, the courts have affirmed now what Ken Paxton has said, is that the lower court judge did not have the expertise to make the decision that Ms. Cox's actual life was in danger. That is the very reason that we have so many gynecologists, OBGYN doctors that are leaving these states that have these trigger laws in them, because they are now also not able to make the life-affirming decisions that they need to make on behalf of their they're patient. And that is what has happened here. This woman has been told that her life could be in danger, but in addition to that, the longer that it goes, she risks the opportunity to have more children. As we just heard, she's already a mother, she's a wife. And these Republicans, because of their political agenda, are putting aside the actual people that are involved. So oftentimes when legislators are reading these agendas or actually creating these pieces of legislation, many of these Republicans, in my opinion, don't think about the real people. What does this piece of legislation look like in practice, right? Mm-hmm. Now we see exactly what happens in practice. We've seen in Ohio what happens when a 10-year-old young girl actually is raped and she has to leave the state to have an abortion. I traveled to El Salvador, and I want to talk about seeing how this impacts real lives, especially when you criminalize abortion. Then State Senator Nikema Williams, now Congresswoman Nikema Williams, was on that trip with me as well. And we went to a prison in El Salvador with women who had just been accused of having abortions. Heard those stories of women who actually were having miscarriages. One woman who was beaten by her partner had a miscarriage as a result of that beating, is in jail being accused of having an abortion. That is where this country is going, y'all.
We're here.
That's where we're going.
We're here.
That's where, if Trump is reelected, yes, and if we do not flip the House and we don't keep the Senate,
we're here.
This is the same direction that we're going in.
We're here. We're here. We're here, y'all. Yeah. We're here.
Yeah.
Back with more of the Santita Jackson Show in just a few minutes. Oh, you all keep talking. We're on several platforms at once. But you all can keep talking.
And just as we're talking, Santita, again, these folks are creating legislation and not thinking about the people. And I'm gonna say not thinking, don't even care. I mean, how could somebody in their humanity not have some compassion for what Ms. Cox and other folks are going through? That's my question.
No. Look, we went through this with slavery, Marika. Yeah. When Black women did not have agency. Yeah. Terry, Anastasi, Daryl. We know what this is. We know how cold. I mean, because Ken Paxton sounds like I've seen this before. No way. I'm like, this is not new. That's what I'm saying. Even when we look at what's happened with UPenn and the pressures that are being applied, this is a decades-old problem that we saw at UPenn with these donors squeezing the universities and pushing a particular point of view. And now the quiet part is being said out loud. And you have the same men who are pushing this. Now, mind you, I have been quite honest about the fact that privately, abortion is not for me. But I don't make that public policy. I'm like, wait a minute, that's between you and the Lord. That is, any woman who has to make that decision, God bless her. I am not going to judge you. What I want you to do, I want you to have support. Because you know what? So many people I know are anti-abortion after they had their last one. Okay? Mm-hmm. And that hypocrisy makes me sick. You know, women who are married or who were married when they had their abortions. And I mean, I'm not mad at you. People have, a friend of ours, we were in school. Her mother said, look, my husband and I were in a horrible place. And then in the middle of that, I found out I was pregnant. And not only was she in the middle of a mental breakdown, she almost had to be institutionalized and really had to deal with a whole lot, many years beyond that. She said, having a baby, I just couldn't do it. And I know I had already had kids. I couldn't do it. I've heard that story more than once. I can't judge her. See, no, wait, this is when the respectability politics comes into play.
That's correct.
And I am sick of that. And now this woman could die.
Yep.
She could.
And they don't care.
No, they don't. Dr. Knighton, are you still there?
Dr. Knighton's no longer with us.
Okay, is she still with us or no?
No, she's not.
Okay. I mean, it's just she could absolutely die.
60 seconds, everyone.
Okay, I want to get music at 57, okay?
Okay.
All right, hon. Thank you so much. Ugh, I'm disgusted. But, this is where we are, and you know what? Good that we're here. Because you wouldn't be able to tell anybody different.
A lot of people, even when you talk to folks, they never thought, even folks that were pushing these pieces of legislation, they never thought their rule would be overturned. That's what they thought. They just wanted to kind of be in the battle.
Well, let's not act like this is new for us, because this is not new for us at all. This is not new. This is part of our history. It's just sadly now white women are feeling it. See, if you have to have your slave master's child, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and then there's a chairman. Are you joking me?
Change the world, change the world. We can change the world. We can change the world, change the world.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
War and hate to a place of love. It's not too late. Gotta save the children. We can't wait. Let's change the world. I am grieving.
This is a whole lot. Kate Cox is really, her health is at risk. Her life is at risk. And she is a married mother of two. She found out that her pregnancy was in trouble. In fact, they said, you could lose your life. Your baby's going to lose their life. Our advice to you is to terminate the pregnancy, because the longer you carry this baby, the less likely you are to be able to carry another child to term. But, you could also, the likelihood increases every day that you will die. And yet Texas officials and the Supreme Court have said, too bad, too sad. And so let's talk about this, everybody, because now we're watching all of these, Attorney Anastasia Sinat, we're watching everybody weigh in now, right? Everybody's weighing in. And it's like no one's talking to Kate Cox. I mean, this is the person who's at the heart of the matter. Your thoughts about this case? Attorney Sinat? Well, let me go to you, Daryl Jones. What are your thoughts?
Good morning, Santita. This is just an abominable case. I cannot believe what Ken Paxton and the state of Texas are doing in this case. The Texas Heartbeat Act, which is the center of it, came out of Senate Bill 8. It's horrible. For Kate Cox, who is the young lady that's pregnant, and all that she's going through right now. I think that the state senator Coleman put it best, that this is just a horrible situation. Let me tell you, because it's not just from the Senate bill. It's not just the mother that's at issue in the pregnancy. When you go through Senate Bill 8, it's very clear as to why the doctor, the physician, wanted the court to act. Because, the bill itself is very vague with regards to its exceptions and whether or not the doctor can perform it. But Ken Paxton went to the great extent in this case, Santita. Not only did the state come back and deny Kate Cox the opportunity to, what would be a life-saving necessary potentially for her and the potential to have children down the road, but he went through the extraordinary measure of contacting the 3 hospitals that Kate Cox might go to have an abortion performed, and told them that if they try to do this, if they permit the doctor to perform the abortion process on Kate Cox, that he was coming after them. He was coming after them criminally. He was coming after them civilly. I mean, this is incredible. Now, when he said he was coming after these folks criminally, He's the Attorney General. In the state of Texas, the Attorney General does not have the authority to bring criminal actions. So this was done strictly and solely as an intimidation tactic to force Kate Cox and her physician into this position. But it doesn't even stop there. I mean, this is how offensive this is, the whole Texas Heartbeat Act, because it's not just Kate Cox, it's not just the physician, it's also her husband. Who would be a person that may be transporting her for the process. He too would be liable. If they were convicted in a court of law, what does the Heartbeat Act say? It says they face it up to life in prison. Life in prison. Because she's trying to save her life and potentially, keep herself in a position where she can have other children. This is just an incredible case in that regard. And it doesn't help that when you're talking about Ken Paxton, you're talking about someone who just survived that partisan impeachment and is still under investigation for the federal security fraud that's still pending in the federal court. So you have all of this that's going on. But, the life of Kate Cox seems to be the least thing that they're thinking about. And I'm going to tell you, within this bill, and Santita, I get so worked up about it, within this act, within the Texas Heartbeat Act, once Judge, what was the judge? Judge Gamble, the Democrat who was the district court judge, once she issued and said that Kate Cox could have the proceeding, had they gone forward and had the proceeding at that point, this act would still say that if a subsequent court overturned what the initial judge said, and they decided that she should not have had that abortion, they're still liable under this act. They're still liable under this act. This is a horrible piece of legislation. It's a horrible thing that Ken Paxton is doing and forcing this family into this position. It's just, and that's before you get to the civil liability and money, because then the decision could be one that wrecks the family financially. What family value is that preserving? It's a horrible decision. It's a horrible piece of legislation, and I agree with soon-to-be Congresswoman Coleman that we need federal legislation to really lay this groundwork much clearer, Santita.
Well, Senator Coleman, tell me, what is the difference between how this would be handled in Alabama and what they're doing in Texas? Because are your laws more restrictive?
Yeah, so actually what we hear is that ours actually is the most restrictive. But when I'm listening to Daryl talk, it's the same thing here too as well, as far as the criminalization with someone who actually transports a person out of state to have an abortion as well. But I will tell you this. I was in Monroe County this past Thursday night. This is an area in rural Alabama and in Congressional District 2 where they just lost their labor delivery department in the hospital. Women now will have to travel over an hour. And think about when there's an emergency situation. And so I was talking to the last OBGYN doctor left in the county, and I asked her, did our Alabama abortion law have any impact on us not being able to recruit doctors now to rural Alabama and the state, period? And she said, yes, 100%. She said, but when it comes to me, I'm going to do whatever it takes to save the life of my patient, and then I'll have to deal with the consequences later on. And that was noble of her, right? Brave of her, courageous of her. But to give you her demographics, she's older. She has adult children. Actually, I met her daughter that night, and she's about to be a grandmother. Mm-hmm. I mean, what are the situations? You got doctors who may be younger, maybe the sole breadwinner in their family, who cannot risk that. They're not going to be able to risk that level of prosecution. And so, in many of these, what one of my colleagues called the Confederate states of the United States of America, she still calls us. It's in these states, in these southern states, southeastern, southwestern states, where as soon as Roe was overturned, they went strictly to those trigger laws to do everything they could to ban abortion, total ban. But these are not pro-life people. They are not. They are pro-birth, not pro-life. They're pro-birth. Because these same people but not now in this case, in Mrs. Cox's case, not to provide the financial backing or support necessary needed for the father now that would be left with those children if they needed food stamps, if they needed any type of child insurance health protection, any of those social services that will help with that family. This is the same group of people that will be fighting against these government giveaways, these government entitlements for people that don't deserve it, their arguments. So they're not pro-life, they're pro-birth.
Are they really pro-birth? Because they won't pay for the birth. They don't pay.
They want to pay for the Medicaid if you see that. You're exactly right.
I mean, they're not pro anything.
Right.
And I beg us all, Attorney Darrell Jones and Attorney Terry O'Neill, to step back to slavery. Yeah, I'm going to go right there, because this is what this is sounding like to me. Attorney Terry O'Neill, this is what this is sounding like. Black women had no agency. You had to be up under this man and his wife, have his baby, put your children to work in his house. That's what they're doing. You got no health care. You got no anesthesia. You'd have the baby in the fields, and they put you back out there the same day. No care. These people are not pro. They're not pro-birth. They're not pro anything. They don't want to take care. They don't want They don't want prenatal care. They don't want to take care of the pregnant mama. They don't want to take care of the child. They don't want to take care of the child once the child is born. They don't want to give them any milk. They don't want to send them to pre-care, to daycare. They don't want Head Start. They don't want anything. What is this about, Terry?
Santita, I think that's exactly right. All of these forced birth laws, as I call them, I don't call them anti-abortion laws. Anti-abortion is forced birth. Think about it, right? The purpose of all of these laws is to put women back in their place, to undo all of the women's rights legislation and court decisions that have occurred over the past 60 or 70 years. They're aimed at women, but let's be very clear, they sweep in transgender individuals, gender non-binary individuals. Anyone who has a uterus and can get pregnant is at risk, made at risk by these forced birth laws. We know, for example, that in the states where you have the harshest forced birth legislation, you also have the worst scenarios for people accessing reproductive health care. So these are not, they're styled as anti-abortion laws, but they actually block people from accessing a whole range of reproductive health care. So you ask yourself, why is it so important to these men, and it's almost all white men, why is it so important to these men to stop people from getting just health care, just basic reproductive health care? And the answer is it's their political agenda to establish a status for women that is not equal, that does not have constitutional standing. Why do they want to do that? Santita, I think you're exactly right. So the entire slave labor system in the United States, it affected the Deep South most harshly, but it affected the entire United States. The purpose of that was to enrich the planter class, right? And anytime you are setting up second-class citizenship, like the forced birth laws do, aiming at women, or any kind of, frankly, anti-labor legislation, you're trying to set up a hierarchical society in which some people are deemed worthy of full human status, and everybody else has to work for their benefit and not for anyone else's benefit. So this is a political economic agenda, and part of the agenda involves, basically sending women back to where we were in the 18th century.
I mean, how is the corporatocracy advantaged? I mean, is it some more bodies? This child's not going to live. Well, only God knows. Let me just say this: what will happen with this child? So, when I get that argument too, that having been said, Kate Cox could die. Every day that she carries this pregnancy, her life is at greater and greater risk. I don't even think we understand how how dangerous a proposition giving birth is. That's the closest a woman comes to death. Because it happens. I'm here. No, no, no. It ain't that simple. And I'm just trying to understand Ken Paxton's thinking, the Supreme Court's thinking. Who are you people?
Santita, for Ken Paxton, the individual woman who could die is immaterial. What he's aiming for is a world order in which people who look like him are on top always, unquestionably. And if that means that some people die, so be it.
Do we have Senator Coleman? Do you on a state level have any recourse, or are you in Alabama and are the people of Texas and other states where this is happening? Do they not have any recourse?
Yeah, so, well, I said yeah, but that is just me answering, getting ready to tear up. The reality of it is our answer is the federal government. These legislative bodies in these deep South states are so Republican. The body that I serve in is 140 members. Only 140 members, only 35 Black folks, and 37 Democrats. They literally could have a section and we not even show up. Our role really now has turned into making the legislation not as bad as it could have been. So the federal government is going to have to intervene on these types of issues. And it was already stated there's so much intersectionality with these folks that want to prevent women from being able to make the choices that they need to make about their health care with their doctor and their family, to LGBTQ plus issues, other communities of color. And so there's going to have to be some intervention at the federal level, which is why it's so important. There are all of these redistricting lawsuits, and the seat that I'm running in actually is as a result of one of these redistricting lawsuits that will end up being a pickup seat if we accomplish it, because it's not a majority Black district. It is an opportunity district, a 48.9% Black voting age population. What Republicans are counting on nationally, even with these redistricting cases, is that Black people and other communities of color and other allies don't show up to vote. And so how does this impact this issue? We've got to have folks to go out in the masses in primaries to elect real folks that share your value system. But then in November of next year, flipping the House and keeping the Senate, especially, I'm actually appealing to your listening audience for more progressive areas. I'm appealing to you all. You're going to have to save the South because of how these districts have been so gerrymandered to be so Republican that we're going to need federal intervention. But right now, our only recourse is through the courts. And then now, of course, the courts are so stacked. I'm going to be the partisan here now. Democrats did not even realize, in my opinion, how important the Supreme Court and these other federal courts, the appointment power there, until Trump was in office.
No, but I think that they did realize.
I don't care how you feel about Joe Biden.
They continue. Marika,
you and I.
They continue. No, they continue. No, they continue to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. These people know government just as well as the backs of their hands. What they do is they continue to. These Republicans get out here and fight. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. They do not plan to fail. And they have long-term strategies. I don't know how long we have to do this. Look, in the mid-'80s, at the height of the Reagan Revolution, Reverend Jackson and the Rainbow were able to flip the U.S. Senate back to the Democratic side because they kept registering people to vote, and Reverend never stopped running. I don't see Democrats doing anything like that. I don't see them mounting. I don't hear them on Black-oriented radio. I don't see them on Black. I don't see them doing anything.
Yeah, you're on point. In 2008, when we won the White House, when President Obama was elected, even prior to, I was at a BCA conference because they were trying to expand. That's the Business Council of Alabama. They were trying to expand their friends. Mike Hubbard, who was the Speaker of the House at the time, he actually ended up having to go to jail. But he said to me, he said, "We're going to lose the White House. He said, we already know it. We've already conceded that we're going to lose the White House. But you know what they did? I'm telling that's our conversation. They planned for the next 2 years.
Yeah.
They end up taking state houses across the country in 2010 after President Obama won, and we were so excited about having the first black president. They continued to plot, and they flipped these state houses. And when they flipped the state houses, they controlled redistricting and then made all of these state houses more Republican.
Marika, there is a book
You're right.
on it.
They have plans.
The book is
And we
called
were just happy to be here.
It's a New York Times bestseller called Rat Effed by David Daley, in which the night that Obama won, the top Republican strategist sat down and said, they can have the White House. We're going to take all of the states. So, I mean, I don't want to hear it. And then during the Obama years, you were not allowed to say anything. Yeah, I'm saying it. And it was wrong. And we lost more than 1,000 seats in that 8-year period, Daryl. Now you can say whatever you want. While we're sitting up here going to the White House, being fancy, having fun, these people were locking up government from coast to coast. Daryl, hello. Gerrymandering, come on. At some point, stop the shine, stop the style, stop fronting, get to work. And people get angry with me when I say that. Oh, you're not being blue enough. Oh, yeah, I'm blue in the face. I'm tired of y'all playing games. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. These people are planning and plotting all the time. Dr. King said, while evil men plot, good men must plan.
Yes.
So what's next? I'm going to just ask each of you, just well, you know what? You're running for Congress. You see it from the state level. You see it and you're going to be seeing it from the federal level. What's next? What do we do? I mean, because you saw these states falling like dominoes when you were a state representative. Now you're a state senator, and you're like, hey, basically, they can have a session without me. That's how much they have tilted.
That's right.
They have completely, and it doesn't even reflect Alabama's population. It doesn't reflect the South. Most black people live in the South, and we have the numbers, but we don't have the representation. I've got 90 seconds for you.
Yeah, so really quick, then I've already said it. This is where we really have to go back and mobilize. And you said it when we look at Dr. King, when we look at Reverend Jesse Jackson and others. They strategized and planned. They mobilized. So we've got to mobilize our community. But it's part of our responsibility, too, to make the direct connection between their everyday living and politics itself. That's one of the things that we've forgotten. Young people are getting all of their media now from TikTok. So we're also going to have to change the plan. We're going to have to get the correct information out to young people. But we've got to mobilize these young folks, use their energy, bring them to the table, take their ideas as well, and all of us together are going to have to get to the polls. We've got to reactivate the absentee process. That is where we have been powerful in making sure that those folks who may not be able to go vote on Election Day have the right to vote. We've got to protect the absentee process, but we got to mobilize it. In certain states, you've got early voting. Get people out to vote early and fast. Get those votes counted first. So y'all, we've got to do the work also to make sure that we're making the connection between their everyday lives. And the reason we need to keep Joe Biden in office and to flip this House, elect Marika Coleman as a new Democratic member of the U.S. House, and keep this thing.
How about that? That's what I'm talking about. How can we get in touch with your campaign?
So very easy. It's MarikaForCongress.com. You just got to spell my name correctly. MERIKA for Congress.com. Got a wonderful website, but also Google me. I think the best indicator of what a person will do is what they've already done. Plenty information out there over my 20-year service. The campaigns do cost money. We will not be able to continue to get the message out to the 100,000 people in the district, nearly 300,000 registered voters without resources. So please get to our campaign, and we're going to continue to fight the good fight and help to flip the U.S. House of Representatives. Marika4Congress.com.
And you got to come back as often as you can so you can make that happen. Get closing thoughts from
Yes,
everybody
ma'am.
on the other side. Stay right here on the Santita Jackson Show. Can't wait to be with you tomorrow on the Santita Jackson Show. Praying for Kate Cox, everybody. Stay right here. Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. Devin, I'm glad you're back. See you tomorrow, everybody. You know, I mean, Terry, I don't even know what to say.
I know.
Um,
We're in real trouble here. You know, I mean, I'm so glad that Senator Coleman is running for Congress. I just moved to Tennessee. It's the same story in Tennessee. It's we're gerrymandered out. The city of Nashville, where I live, does not have an actual. They redistricted the state in such a way that for congressional districts, Nashville has been broken up into 3 different congressional districts. Each one, you took a little piece of Nashville and added it to a huge exurban community, which is very Trumpy and very red. Did that 3 times. So the city of Nashville does not even have one person in Congress representing them. Our vote has been basically nullified. Anyway, and it is a terrifying prospect. You know, we've got the Democratic coalition is extremely fragile right now, particularly because of what's going on in the Middle East, and it's just scary as anything, because this election probably is going to determine whether we have a democracy at all for the foreseeable future.
But y'all, wait a minute. We have not had a democracy ever. We're trying to move in that direction. I mean, really?
True.
Come on now. Stop. Stop. I can't take it.
I know. I totally agree with that. The Tennessee is not a democracy. The whole
It's an idea. It's an ideal, and I'm with it. Our fight has been to make America democratic. But I disagree with the Democrats' push on this is about the democracy. No. Not when you won't sign an executive order to protect my right to vote. You missed me on that.
Yes.
No.
Exactly, yeah.
You playing with me. I know you've been playing because you've been playing on busing. You played a lot of games with me down through these. Y'all ain't been with a democracy. Now that you're feeling left out, we need to talk about a democracy. Get out of here. You have the right to march on the Capitol. And you do have the right. Do you have the right to have a riot? No. But did you investigate all the intelligence officers in it? Are you serious right now? Stop playing these games. It costs $3.4 million for a family of 4 to achieve the American dream in America today. Who can afford that? $3.4 million. A black woman, the average black woman, loses $1 million at the end of her work life because of she's been underpaid. And for indigenous women, the figure's even higher. Stop playing with me. Stop it. I cannot get the president to sign an executive order to protect the voting rights votes that he needs. Stop playing with me. Every time my nephew drives from Chicago to Evanston to finish up his studies at at Northwestern University, my nerves are shot because I'm scared that he won't make it up there alive. Stop playing with me. Now, either now y'all want a democracy, then let's work toward that. Come on. Otherwise, stop playing with me. They're playing. I am not going to support someone who supports genocide, Terry and Marika and Daryl. I'm not going to do that. Stop bombing these people. Stop back-ending munitions to Israel so y'all can kill some more people. Stop it. Stop. And then you come to me and you try to guilt me into my vote. Stop playing with me. I'm a grown woman. Seen too much. Don't you play with me. You do what I told you to do. 70% of Americans want you to stop this. Stop it. Talk about saving a democracy. The Democrats and Republicans need to hear this. They're all playing because they're all in it. And I am sick of it. How few people have signed on to this ceasefire resolution, Terry and Marika and Daryl? They're too scared to, because they will be primary. They already found a guy to primary Jamal Bowman, Dr. Bowman. They sent him to a black man who's a Westchester County executive in New York. They sent him to Israel. Now he's coming back flush with money, and he's going to run against Jamal. And he's going to run a heck of a race because he's nice and middle class, Marika, and you know how we love that. He is an executive, and he's going to come across as a little bit more polished than Jamal Bowman, who's just a little loud for us. Marika, am I lying? Is Marika still there? Daryl, am I lying?
You're right on point. You're absolutely on point, and you're right. The way that they're playing with our voters and with our votes.
Yeah.
I think it's just another example of us being certain that we hold our elected officials accountable. We got to let them know that we understand it, that we got it. We get it. We know what you're doing. We know where you're, trying to hide the ball and all this other stuff. They've got to be certain that, that we take those acts. And I think that, State Senator Coleman was on point when because in essence, what she's saying is, let's show how much we can focus on the elected side of this by electing members that are members of Congress that are going to do what we want to have done. And that runs up and down, every election. That if you're focused on the candidate that best matches your interests, and then B, on holding that person once they're elected accountable. And I think that's what we see happening here. And much to your point, Santita, that's part of the reason that we need to have those debates. These are the issues that can be raised on the Democratic debate. You can question, the candidate, the president, on his positions, and why this is really just a smokescreen, a false choice that's being put out there. But so long as they, quash the debate, that is really the only opportunity you have to hold anyone accountable and to be able to show your disapproval is through your vote. And so, it's just incredible.
CNN is about to do a story on why Black women don't want to go to hospitals to give birth, Terry and Daryl. This is in 2023. We don't trust the hospitals. You have Black women who go into these hospitals in excruciating pain. They can't get meds. Oh, yeah, you can take it.
Right.
Because, Black women, Black folks don't feel pain the way, white people feel pain more acutely than Black people do. Really?
Oh, yeah, that was taught in medical schools for a very, very long time. And my understanding is that there are still very much outliers, but there are still medical schools in this country that continue to teach that race is a biological fact. And that one biological fact related to race is that Black people do not feel pain the same way that white people do. So you have a Black woman presenting, and she's already at higher risk with her pregnancy than white women. And she says, I've got pain here, I've got pain there. In some places, the physicians have been taught not to believe her when she talks about her pain. So
Serena Williams felt the clot moving up her leg. They wouldn't listen to it. This is one of the best conditioned human beings on the face of the earth. She almost died, and I promise you before God, she got advocacy because she has a white husband.
Right.
If she had a Black husband, she would not have been listened to.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just giving you the politics of it. Look, I've got interracial marriages in my family. I ain't mad at nobody. I am clear that when I am treated very differently if I'm out with a white guy, if I'm out with a Black guy, it's a different ball game.
Mm-hmm.
When you're with your white friends, you're treated differently. When you're with your Black friends, you're treated differently. It's subtle, but it is real. So it's like, come on, let's stop playing with each other. And it does not mean that I'm going to walk away not liking white people, being resentful. No, I'm too grown for that because I know that's somebody else's sickness. But I'm clear on the systemic nature of all of this. And we need to stop playing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's exactly right. It's systemic. And look, once you start criminalizing healthcare, right, the first people who are, like they're doing with reproductive health care aimed at women, sweeping in transgender and non-binary people as well. Once you criminalize health care, you make the entire healthcare system especially dangerous for people of color, especially Black people, right? Because we know that we know the way Black people are treated in the criminal justice system, and so criminalizing healthcare is a disaster. And already, women who experience any kind of problem with their pregnancy, including especially miscarriage, are being investigated criminally. And doctors and hospitals are not going to be there for their patients in many cases, if not most cases. The doctors and hospitals do not want to be prosecuted. They don't want their money taken away. And so they will err on the side of obeying the law, even if and not being sued, even to the detriment of their patients. That's not true of all healthcare providers, but it is true of, I believe, most, certainly at the hospital level.
Well, to be fair, they are looking at the greater good. They're like, if I save the hospital, then I get it, but it's still the game, and quite frankly, I'm just calling it out because I just think that what they're doing is awful, and we're going to lose more people than we save. And this is an absolute war on women. I am not striking out against the non-binary, but somehow or another, because we skirt around race on this, Terry and Daryl. I'm not going to skirt around genderism and sexism on this.
Right.
This is an attack upon women.
Right. Yeah, it's absolutely targeting women. Sweeps in others, but it targets women and their status as first-class citizens. The goal is to knock women as a class back down into a completely different, dehumanized, second-class citizenship.
Yeah, and I want us, as we embrace the non-binary community, I respect that, I appreciate that, but I want them to know what they're stepping into. See, because let me tell you something. You can't have a conversation with me unless you want to. See, being a woman is a big job, okay? And every big job you get, you got to apprentice. I don't know of anybody who walks into anybody's community and they ain't got no questions. You have no questions for me as a woman. Are you for real? You don't want to talk to me about the wealth gap. You don't want to talk to me about the fact that Black women have to work 10 months more than a white man of equal qualifications to get. It takes me 22 months to make what he makes in 12. It takes Indigenous women 2 years to make what a white man makes in 1 year. No. Unless you want to have this conversation with me, you miss me on because you're not struggling. You're playing a game with me. Fannie Lou Hamer did not wear a narrow wig or put on lipstick, and she was more woman than I could ever be. Stop playing games with me. This is don't get me started. I'm here. This is a war on women. And I resent it. As someone who was raised by her great-grandmother, who was raised by her grandmothers, who was raised by my mother and my father. I resent it. Black women lose $1 million. The average Black worker, the frontline worker, loses $1 million at the end of her work life because she's not paid properly. Whatever your struggle is, I want that acknowledged because that's the struggle I'm still having here.
Precisely because what you're saying is exactly true. That's where I take gender dysphoria really, really seriously because in the United States of America that being a woman is not as privileged. Being a white woman is quite privileged, but being a woman is not as privileged as being a man. So when you have gender dysphoria and people saying, I believe, that I really am a woman, that is something against their economic interest. It's against their political interest to even go there, right? And
you know what I want?
On an individual basis,
I want them to come and participate with me on that struggle because I'm not seeing that yet. And I challenge them on that, and I challenge them lovingly as someone who embraces. I don't believe in marginalizing anybody.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair. I will tell you, on an individual level, I know many transgender people who are absolutely there for the women's rights and for anti-racism.
And I want their voices to be amplified, and because I need more of the more voices we have, the louder they are, the better off we will all be. Because I'm like, do you understand
Right.
what this is? Well, then I need you
Sure.
to
I mean,
speak to
that's
that. Speak to that.
Yeah.
Beyond the bathroom, that's real, that's important. But so are my feelings. And whatever misunderstandings or misgivings I have, you need to work with me on that. But you can't force your way into my space. That ain't gonna work for me. But what I'm talking about are
Mhm.
real bread and butter issues. And you need to be there for me on this issue. I had this woman, and Daryl heard me tell this story before, Terry, and you might have heard me tell it too. I'm checking out of the grocery store, $70 I spent. I was like, I haven't even purchased any protein, none, and I didn't buy any junk.
Mm.
I was like, look, when
Mhm.
this woman, when she finished ringing me up, I said, what did I get? I've spent almost 100, 2/3 of $100. I'm trying to figure out what did I get. And she looked at me and she said, ma'am, you can imagine what I go through.
Mm. Mm.
She said,
Mhm.
they have cut back my money and I got a teenager to feed. I said, how do you make
Mm.
it? She said, she just shrugged her shoulders. She said, well, first I got to feed him first, which meant that she's not eating in a
So
grocery
she's going with
store.
that.
What?
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. It's awful.
No. Y'all got to come up with something else. And if we're going to be in this fight together, then you need to ask me what my issues are since I've been in this struggle longer than you, and then join me on this. That is my requirement. And that ain't no ask. And I'm someone who
I
does
hear
not
you.
believe,
Yeah.
I don't believe in marginalizing anyone. I know what it's like to be excluded unfairly.
Mhm.
I know what I don't want anyone to feel that. But let's get real about what this struggle really is. That's all I'm asking. That's all I'm saying. I mean, Terry. I mean, because gender dysphoria, all of these disorienting conditions are real. They're in your head. They're in your
Mhm.
heart. And
Right. Right.
I absolutely go, oh, okay, wait a minute. And you know what? And we need to invest more in the science so we can talk more about it. But I don't think that the government should make that decision for a parent. If parents feel that there's something else going on with their child, I think they need the space to work that out too. Because I think we're going too far on that. But
Yeah.
now we
Yeah.
have a cancel culture in which you can't discuss any of it. That's not fair. But what's really
No.
not fair,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm
Yeah.
just talking, but I mean, I think about this woman. I'm so upset.
Yeah. I know. I know.
This woman,
And to me,
she
it's
can
just scary.
die.
I have to tell you, I can imagine what her family is going through. I had years ago when Louisiana's in the 90s, Louisiana passed a really draconian forced birth law. And I went up to Baton Rouge to testify against it. And then I get a call from a woman who worked with me. And she told me her story. She was a secretary at Tulane Law School. And her story was that she got pregnant. She was thrilled. She had a 3-year-old boy. She was pregnant with a girl. She was excited. The pregnancy goes terribly wrong. Her blood pressure spikes, and she really was in danger. And the doctor told her, "Well, I think I can get you before the statutory requirement of a board of 9 doctors, all men." And I think I can demonstrate to them that you're close enough to death that we could terminate this pregnancy for you. I think we can do that.
Close enough to
Her
death.
husband and her parents went nuts. And are you ready for this? She was, I want to keep this pregnancy. I'm not terminating this pregnancy. I'm getting, so it was yeah. So I can just imagine what this woman in Texas, what her family is going through, because you feel so helpless on the sidelines. But my friend survived. Obviously, the pregnancy did not survive, but it was heart wrenching. And then you had these politicians stepping in to screw up that entire family, not allow them to make those healthcare decisions and move forward to protecting her health in the way that they needed to, because these politicians felt like let's attack women as a class, just because we can. It's horrible.
I mean, I feel like I'm on the plantation.
Yeah, it's not that far.
Oh no,
it's a spectrum. We're on a spectrum. And you're absolutely right. We've never really been a true democracy, but there is true dictatorship.
absolutely.
And I don't know that we have actually been under true dictatorship nationwide for a very long time. So,
and you're right about that. I mean, Black people lived under true dictatorship, and I think that's why we push back against it so hard, because we've had it here.
Exactly.
I mean, and I think we have to be honest about the conditions under which various people have had to live. We lived under the dictatorship. Slavery is nothing but dictatorship.
Oh yeah, exactly. That's what I'm talking. That was what I'm thinking about. Was enslavement, and certainly the Confederate States were a dictatorship.
Yeah,
when that existed.
And so there is this tension, right? I'm just saying.
Yeah.
You know what, Terry? And Daryl, are you still there? You know what it is? I want us to be honest about what we have been through, so that we can have a clear view of where we need to go.
Yes. I think that's right. I do.
If we don't look at what Black women experienced on these plantations, we're missing something. And wait a minute, and what white women experienced on the plantations too, because she had to take it.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
And it was designed to make Black women to make white women resent Black women.
Exactly.
And keep us at odds with each other, instead of, hey, having my white sister help me to get free.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
I'm just saying, we have got to not just do better. We just got to do right.
Right. Yeah.
So,
listen, I got to go walk my dog.
Well, and I thank you for all of the work you've done through the years, and thank you for letting me rant and vent today.
I love your rants. I love your rants.
I don't want anyone to think. No, I don't want anyone to think that I do not support the transgender community. That's not it. But I need you to support me,
right?
And I'm straight up with that.
Yeah. I hear you. I totally hear you.
I need you to listen, because the marginalized class in America is still the woman.
Mm-hmm.
Still.
Oh yeah, right, exactly. Well, but then here's the other thing. In order to maintain a patriarchal, so suppressing women, sort of society, you need to have very clear gender divides. You can't tolerate any ambiguity on gender if you're going to keep women down as a class. If you're going to do that, you want to have the masters and you have the women. The masters have to be the ones who get to say who's a woman. Just like on race, the masters have to be the ones who get to say who's a Black person. And so I think this whole gender thing is freaking out the white patriarchy crowd, because it screws up their ability to dictate who's a woman and who's not a woman, and therefore who gets to be second-class citizen and who doesn't. So, there's that part of it,
of course,
right there.
And you're right, and I think we have to be able to have a fully fleshed out conversation about it, because we get canceled. What happened to J.K. Rowling to me was shameful. Wait a minute.
Yeah, she's got her opinion. She's entitled to it.
She's entitled to it, and some of it I agree with. I mean, my thing is, look, but to give people the space to say, instead of calling them turfs and all this other craziness, I'm like, oh, this aggressiveness, where's this coming from? Women don't relate like that. You can't do that.
Right.
And if you want to get allies, that's not the way to get it, sugar. It's not.
Yeah.
No, you miss me. You miss me. And when I tell you that, when you say, well, you're a person with a woman, I'm like, no, sweetie, I'm a woman. I have always wanted to be a woman. And I am very clear that there's sociology, there's psychology, there's biology. And what I want us to do is have a real discussion about all of it. Storm Monroe, who is a tremendous transgender actress, activist, and I heard her talk about that one day, and I said, And Storm Monroe has children. And then I've also interviewed some transgender people who have children, and I'm like, okay, how does that work for you? Well, when I'm at home, I am their father. But they also understand this about me too. I'm like, oh, okay. Help me to understand how that works. I'm not, and it was these were wonderful conversations. Help me to understand how it works instead of going off on me and putting me in a corner. No, I'm not going to be put in a corner. I'm a grown woman. You ain't going to do that to me. And if you want an ally, that is not how you do it. That is not how you do it. And we have got to have that conversation, Terry. Because we all need allies, and we need, and there is intersectionality, which is one of the things that I have loved about you. And you're always looking for a way for, what is this Venn diagram we got? That's her approach to life. Like, there's a way that each one of us has a buy-in, at least right here, and I love it.
Right.
I love it. But I'm gonna let you go. You know, I love you, and thank you for taking my call in the middle of the night.
No, thank you for reaching out. I love talking with you, Santita, always.
Oh, I love you. All right, you guys, I'm going to open my eyes as soon as I turn off this light. I had to have some eye surgery on oh my gosh, and my eyes are now killing me. They really actually hurt. So I love you all, and I will catch up with you tomorrow. But let's just keep up with the news and keep the family of Kate Cox in your prayers. And please support Denise and this Gabriel's Toy Drive at 312-888-5128, 312-888-5128. Go to 8540 South Racine and drop off those toys, the food, the clothes. They give away the clothes, the food, the toys until they run out. In her son's name, may he rest in heaven with the angels. Young Gabriel. Love you so much, Terry O'Neill.
Love you too, Santita, sweetie. Take care.
Till
next time.
Absolutely.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
I love you, everybody. God bless. I am going to take care of them eyes. D-Ray, I love you. I wish I could have read your comments today, but I couldn't. And it's going to take me a little while to be able to do that. But thank you for being patient, because even when I put on the glasses, it just, right now, it still hurts. But I'm here. And so, I love you. I love all of you morning stars. Have a great one. Bye-bye.